Hello, and thank you for your interest in the Russell Road at US 1 Interchange STARS study in Prince William County. This study was undertaken as part of VDOT's Strategically Targeted and Affordable Roadway Solutions Program, also known as STARS. This presentation is the main public outreach meeting for this study to gain input and feedback from the public on study area issues and possible alternatives. This study and outreach are a joint effort of VDOT, Prince William County, and Stafford County. Marine Corps Base Quantico has also been a key stakeholder in the project process. This is an outline of what we will be discussing during this presentation. We will have a brief overview of the STARS study process. Next, we will discuss the purpose of this specific study and the specific issues it is intended to address. An overview of existing traffic conditions and safety considerations is presented next, followed by a summary of the study analysis completed to date. Then we will discuss the specific alternatives that are currently under more detailed consideration by the study team, as well as the operational and safety benefits of each alternative. We will wrap up the presentation with the next steps, including how you can provide feedback on the alternatives and other areas that should be addressed as part of the study. STARS is an acronym for Strategically Targeted and Affordable Roadway Solutions. The STARS program is sponsored by VDOT and designed to take a multidisciplinary and data-driven approach to developing alternatives to relieve congestion and solve critical safety needs. The goals of the program are to build diverse stakeholder groups that come together and to identify those projects that can be successfully funded and implemented to solve those transportation issues. The ultimate goal of the STARS program is to identify corridors with congestion and safety issues that can potentially be improved with lower cost, affordable roadway improvements. Upon completion of the STARS study, projects will compete for funding based on a combination of factors for potential inclusions into VDOT's 6-year improvement plan. Note that there is no specific funding source for specific STARS projects for either design or construction. Each project must compete for funding as part of VDOT's prioritization system. The study area for the project consists of the 1-mile section of Russell Road between I-95 and US 1, as well as a 1-mile section of US 1 itself. On this section of Russell Road, there are 3 signals at the I-95 interchange and 2 unsignalized intersections at the US 1 interchange. Within the study area, Russell Road is a 2-lane roadway except at the I-95 interchange. It is posted at 35 miles per hour and carries approximately 12,000 vehicles per day. As identified in the Quantico Transportation Plan, future plans show bicycles sharing lanes with vehicles similar to what is provided now. In addition, US 1 was examined as it affects flows on Russell Road. This analysis along US 1 included examining the Corporate Drive signalized intersection located 1/2 mile south of the US 1 interchange. Although carrying a relatively low 16,000 vehicles per day on a 4-lane section, high levels of peak hour demand result in northbound delays in the AM and southbound delays in the PM peak on US 1. The purpose of the Russell Road at US 1 interchange study is to evaluate safety and operational conditions in the area, including and surrounded by the interchange of US 1 at Russell Road. It is located immediately west of the Russell Road gates into Quantico. In the initial project discussions, 4 specific project needs were identified to address, including improving overall safety and reducing crashes, reducing overall congestion and delays, improving operations at the existing interchange to facilitate flows into Quantico, especially in the AM peak where police control is now required during certain peak hours, and finally to improve flows and maintain access into Quantico and between the western and eastern sections of the base during periods of severe congestion on I-95, when substantial volumes of traffic divert onto US 1, disrupting flows on both US 1 and Russell Road. In defining the study purpose, it is also important to identify what is beyond the scope of improvements that can be considered as a STARS project. As the acronym states, the A stands for Affordable Solutions. Larger, more expensive projects, such as a widening of I-95 or US 1, is not considered. These projects are regional, high-cost projects beyond the scope of STARS. In the early stages of this project, improvements to the corporate drive at US 1 signalized intersection was also examined, but it was quickly determined that even with substantial access restrictions, US 1 would need to be widened to 6 lanes, which would be beyond the scale of the STARS program. The primary focus of the current study is the Russell Road at US 1 interchange. As currently configured, there are low-speed two-way roadways serving as ramps in the northeast and southwest quadrants. The intersections on Russell Road are unsignalized and results in high levels of delay, especially for traffic needing to turn left onto Russell Road. As volumes increase, this delay will continue to increase and ultimately result in traffic queuing back onto US 1. US 1 is a higher speed 4-lane facility posted at 50 miles per hour in the interchange area. Low speed right in and right out turns are provided to access the existing ramps. In addition, there is a security gate providing critical access to Quantico just east of the interchange. There are also some environmental constraints considered as part of our analysis. The northwest quadrant is Locust Shade Park and would require detailed study and potential mitigation if construction were to occur in that quadrant. In the southeast quadrant, there are also some wetlands as well as a possible archaeological site that would require study. As identified earlier, a key purpose of this project is to improve access to Quantico, specifically at the Russell Road security gates. In addition to congestion relief, a key reason is that the existing intersection east of US 1 requires manual traffic control during the AM peak on high volume days. Without the police control, queuing of left-turning vehicles from the ramp can extend back to US 1, introducing potential for safety issues. As shown here, the key conflict in traffic flow is the high volume left turn from the ramp bound for the gate. A key constraint in the interchange area is the existing 2-lane bridge over US 1. The existing bridge was constructed in 1957 and reconstructed in 1987. Widening of the bridge is not an option. Instead, when the bridge is replaced, it will require a substantial lengthening of the bridge to allow for the provision of a future widening on US 1 with extra lanes, a median, shoulders, and pedestrian accommodations. The existing $25 million cost will likely require funding separate from the STARS program. Note that the possibility of constructing an adjacent 2-lane bridge as a lower cost option is being evaluated. To assess safety conditions along the corridor, the study team reviewed crash data from both Russell Road and US 1 over the period from 2013 to 2019. As computed from the data, crash rates on US 1 are higher than observed on Russell Road, in addition to exceeding the statewide average crash rates. This figure shows greater detail in mapping of the crashes at the Russell Road at US 1 interchange and illustrates the higher number of crashes on US 1. Diagrams such as these are what the study team utilizes to determine where key locations for safety improvements are needed. This chart gives information on crash types and injuries. In the vicinity of the interchange, rear-end crashes make up 42% of crashes, indicating congested conditions and/or stopped vehicles. In this area, angle crashes also represent 24% of crashes and may be related to the existing right-in, right-out access to the ramps. In the future, these issues would be worsened if ramp traffic were to queue back onto US 1 combined with the higher through volumes on US 1. As of this presentation, the study has made steady progress through the collaboration of the stakeholder team, including participants from VDOT, Prince William County, Stafford County, and Quantico. Existing conditions have been analyzed, and future growth and traffic forecasting have been performed. The study team has screened several alternatives to determine those that are most viable to bring to the public for consideration, and those options have had preliminary cost estimates and sketches developed. This process originally looked at 11 options to improving the US 1 interchange. In the initial screening process, however, one of the key findings was that the addition of traffic signals on US 1 will result in higher congestion and delays and will likely accelerate the need for widening US 1. After review of traffic operations impacts and preliminary costs, 2 options were selected for further study. One option is a Russell Road widening with the addition of traffic signals at the ramp. The second option is similar in that it requires widening of Russell Road and traffic signals, but it also includes a new one-way ramp in the southeast quadrant. As noted previously, replacement of the Russell Road Bridge will be expensive and likely cannot be completed from a funding perspective at this time. Given this constraint, the analysis is focused on examining two specific locations, the western intersection and the eastern intersection separately. The assumption in this analysis is that each will taper down to match the existing two-lane bridge over US 1. The different western intersection options can be combined with different eastern intersection options interchangeably. Both intersections are currently unsignalized but will require signalization in the future. For both intersections, capacity is a key concern, as well as the queuing of left turns from the ramps onto Russell Road. In peak period conditions, these movements can back onto US 1. Note that operations at the eastern intersection are more congested, primarily due to high volume left turns from the ramp bound for Quantico. The western intersection is examined first. For this location, a no-build scenario, representing no change from existing, is compared from two widening alternatives. In reviewing the alternatives, there is one key concept that must be understood. In evaluating traffic, capacity is measured using a measure known as level of service, or LOS. It ranks intersection operations on a scale from A to F. Just like in school, an A is very good operations with minimal congestion. On the other end of the scale, level of service F represents high levels of congestion and very poor operations. In general, for urban areas, level of service D is considered acceptable or passing. Level of service E indicates maximum capacity has very nearly been reached, and level of service F is failure, just like in school. The no build for the west intersection assumes all conditions remain similar to today. Most critically, this means that the intersection remains unsignalized. Looking at both existing 2020 volumes and 2045 volumes, the intersection operates at level of service F. Unlike traffic signals, however, where all vehicles share some delay, at an unsignalized intersection, the lowest priority movement incurs the majority of delay. In general, this is the left turn from the ramp onto Russell Road since it has a stop sign. This is forecast to result in queues backing onto US 1, causing both congested and safety issues for through vehicles on US 1. Alternative W1 incorporates minimal intersection improvements but does include the construction of a traffic signal. By 2045, this improvement also results in level of service F operations, but because the delay is shared between movements at the signal, the impacts to flow are different. While queuing on the ramp back to US 1 is reduced by almost 500 feet as compared with the no build, it still queues back onto US 1 in the AM peak. In addition, the westbound through movement is forecast to extend back onto the Russell Road Bridge over US 1, potentially impacting flows from the eastern intersection. Alternative W1 does address congestion and queuing in the short term, but would need improved before 2045. Alternative W2 includes a widening of Russell Road to 4 lanes and the addition of a traffic signal at the intersection. Alternative W2 substantially reduces congestion with level of service C operations in the peak AM period. From a safety standpoint, queuing on the ramp back to US 1 no longer occurs. Note that one adjustment to the intersection layout was the elimination of the free flow right turn from the ramp. The widened intersection allows for this to occur without queuing. The removal of the free flow lane allowed for 2 through lanes eastbound through the signal to then safely taper into the 2-lane bridge. Note that this solution carries the widening of Russell Road west to match into the 4-lane section at the I-95 interchange. In addition to simplifying operations for drivers, it provides a second lane for traffic traveling between the eastern and western sections of Quantico, even if trip diversions from I-95 have congested Russell Road and the lanes turning onto or off of I-95. This slide provides a comparison of potential improvements to the western intersection. It compares using colors how specific alternatives perform in addressing traffic operations and impacts to environmental or other resources. Similar to a traffic signal, green represents good or better meeting of the criteria, while red represents poor or worse criteria. As would be expected, there are trade-offs between alternatives. Though alternative W2 provides the best traffic operation, it likely has the highest overall project cost. The eastern intersection is examined in the next set of slides. For this location, a no-build scenario representing no change from existing is compared with 3 widening alternatives. As with the western intersections, this analysis utilizes level of service as a key measure of congestion. Just remember, just like in school, an A is good and an F is bad. The no build for the east intersection assumes roadway geometrics remain similar to today, although future traffic volumes will be higher. It should be noted, however, that this analysis assumes that traffic is operating without police control, as occurs occasionally already in the AM peak. The key issue with the no build is that the eastern intersection remains unsignalized. As shown under existing conditions, the intersection already operates at level of service F in the AM, with queuing extending onto northbound US 1. By 2045, left-turning vehicles from the ramp will essentially have no gaps to turn left into the base, resulting in queues on the ramp, extending upward of a half-mile onto US 1. In this scenario, police control would likely be required to provide access into the base from the ramp. Also note that level service F operations would be anticipated in the PM peak, although with less delay than in the AM peak. Alternative E1 includes a widening of Russell Road to 4 lanes at the eastern intersection. It also widens the ramp to include a dual left turn onto Russell Road toward the gate. In general, this improvement improves operations to level service D in the AM peak and level service C in the PM peak. Queuing on the ramp still occurs, but is not anticipated to extend back onto US 1 during typical weekdays. It is important to note that this includes a conventional traffic signal that requires all movements to stop at some point to share the intersection. In addition, if gate operations are causing queues separate from the intersection, and these queues back into the intersection, the left turns from the ramp would incur the most delays, which could accelerate queues back to US 1. Nevertheless, this alternative does meet the traffic capacity needs of the intersection. This slide shows alternative E2, which features a new one-way ramp in the southeast quadrant. This ramp allows for traffic from US 1 northbound bound for the gates to exit US 1 and proceed to the gates without stopping. The left turn from the existing ramp and the delays for that movement are eliminated. The traffic signal operates at level service A, with the only conflict being left turns onto US 1 northbound crossing westbound traffic from Quantico. By reducing turns at the intersection, conflict points are reduced, resulting in safer operation. Due to new construction, however, some impacts to a potential archaeological site, as shown in yellow, and wetlands in green would need to be addressed. Also note that this improvement is much more expensive and likely exceeds the cost for a STARS type improvement. Alternative E3 is an attempt to implement the improved traffic operations of Alternative E2 with a lower cost approach similar to Alternative E1. Instead of installing a conventional traffic signal requiring all movements to stop at a signal, this operation incorporates a green T solution. By shifting the eastbound Russell Road approach further out, it is possible to protect the left-turning traffic from the ramp, allowing them to flow at the same time as the throughs on Russell Road. A signal is still required, but a high percentage of traffic entering the gate from Russell Road do not need to stop. Overall operations improve to level of service B in the AM and level of service C in the PM peak. Queuing is not anticipated on the ramp back to US 1. This alternative does require more construction than Alternative E1 and has a slightly higher construction cost, but has definite traffic advantages. This slide provides a comparison of the potential improvements to the eastern intersection. Using the same color scheme as the western intersection, the comparison looks at traffic operations, queuing and safety, as well as impacts or features of each alternative. As would be expected, there are trade-offs between alternatives, especially when considering likely costs. Although Alternative E2 provides the best traffic operations, it is likely at a much higher cost than the other alternatives due to the new ramp. The next steps in the study process start with you. A MetroQuest survey to allow for public input on issues and priorities within the study area, as well as on the current alternatives, is available via hyperlink on the study website. The study website is located at www.virginiadot.org/Russell Road Study, with no spaces on the Russell Road study. We encourage you to give as much feedback and input as possible. Your comments and suggestions help guide the decisions of the study team on what alternatives should be selected and what features of those alternatives should be revised or reconsidered. Again, thank you for taking the time to view our presentation of the Russell Road at US 1 Interchange STAR study. You may find more information about the study, including a downloadable file of the presentation slides, on the project website, which is www.virginiadot.org/Russell Road Study. Please don't forget to fill out the survey, as your feedback and responses to the questions are very important to us. If you do not wish to take the survey but still wish to submit comments, you may submit them via email to meetingcomments@vdot.virginia.gov. Thank you very much for your time.